Here are some unexpected costs when it comes to aircraft ownership. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Mojo Grip. Mike here. Today we're going to talk about aircraft ownership once again, and I've got a list here that I want to share with you, particularly from my own experience. Now, this will be different for different types of airplanes and different models, and also for different people. Now, given that I fly a fairly new plane, if you fly a used airplane, you probably would have more added to your tab when it comes to maintenance. But just because you're buying a new airplane doesn't mean that you wouldn't have some cost that just kind of throws you off. Okay, so and that's why I'm making this video, is that you may also expect some costs to your new airplane, and you probably want to maybe put some money away on the side, just like you would if you were flying a used airplane. All right, so when I bought my airplane, matter of fact, I built my airplane, which is a Sling TSI. Now, my initial thought was, okay, this thing is brand new. I wouldn't need to spend anything on it outside of my annual, which is required by the FAA. So with that said, here's some of the things that came up that I totally was not expecting. And if you know anything in aviation, any little thing can cost you quite a bit. All right, so I'm gonna go through my list here. The first thing I have here is my brakes. Now, if you've seen some of the videos on the channel, I've actually made videos particularly about this issue. So with a Sling TSI, you get your factory brakes, which work great. Also, one of the things that's different with a Sling or any Sling you fly is that it comes with hand brakes, not toe brakes. Now, when we built my plane and I flew it for a while there, I just noticed, particularly on my run-up, that I would either have some issues with the brakes where I would have to like re-actuate it for it to hold. And so I still flew it around for months because the brakes work. I was not comfortable with it, so I remember I reached out to my AP mechanic. I also talked to the factory. So we finally took a look at it, and it happens that there were just a little bit of air in the brake line initially. And also, if you saw a video where I posted of I had a leak somewhere in the brake, that was just due to bolts not being tight enough. Now, these are some of the things that you would experience, or you may experience, when you build an airplane. You know, just some things are not simple bolts that was not tight enough, or the brake line. Also, when you were putting it in, you didn't do everything or recheck. So, but long story short, it ended up that it was just something simple that was causing the problem. I had already went out and purchased a new set of brakes because I thought, man, this brakes, I just want to change that. But it happened that the old brakes were actually perfectly fine. It was just an issue of tightening a bolt and bleeding the brakes properly, and that would have totally fixed the issue. But either way, because I had to take the airplane to the shop and have my AP mechanic look at it, that's a cost that I didn't really bargain for. And while the plane was sitting at the shop, the second thing that came to mind was my exhaust. So actually, this was on the flight to Oshkosh. We had noticed that the exhaust, mainly the ring, not the exhaust itself, but like when it attaches to the engine bay, there was a cut or a leak there, so we had to weld that back together. So that is another cost. It wasn't a lot. It was actually maybe the most affordable thing that was fixing the airplane. And then the other thing was my oxygen. Now, given that this is just a supplementary stuff, it's not required for anything, but I wanted oxygen as just part of safety. I wanted to take this airplane to as high as possible. And the rule of thumb is if you are over 12,000 feet, you want to use oxygen. My rule is actually over 10,000, I want to use oxygen. And initially the plan was to have the oxygen built into the airframe, which would have been really nice. But again, so much happened because we built this airplane during the pandemic. So a lot of things happened and I was trying to meet a deadline, but it turned out that we didn't get to install the oxygen as part of the airframe. So then I had to get a portable oxygen system from Mountain High, and shout out to Mountain High. So that was an additional cost, or that would be an additional cost for somebody else who is looking to do this. If you forget to actually put your oxygen in, then you would have to buy a portable one, which was the case for me. Another cost that I'm looking at right now is my window trim. Basically the window seals around the doors, they're good, but I felt like they're pretty thin. And so I've been talking to an automotive shop that's close by, and what I want to do is install something thicker and just more wider that will cover that space entirely. Because I noticed last winter, the first time I flew the plane after it was brought home, was that when it was really cold, I could feel like real chill in there, and it was partly because probably some cold air was coming out through that window because of those seals. So again, that's not something I planned for, but it is something worth noting. And these problems may come with both experimental or with a certified airplane. But in my plane, I'm going to replace the window seals. And the last bit of expense that you may not think of whenever you're buying an airplane is, after you purchase the airplane, in order to fly, especially if you're flying cross-country missions, you want to have a subscription to a good flight program like 4Flight. 4Flight, just about every pilot I know flies with 4Flight, and you can have 4Flight or Garmin Pilot. Either one works great, and none of them are sponsoring this video, but these are great tools, and they will cost you a few $100 every single year. With 4Flight, the plans start at about $100 a month, and then depending on which, whatever features you want, then you can subscribe to that. But that's a cost that I didn't really bargain for initially. And then also with my nice GPS and Garmin avionics, I also have a subscription to update my database. That's about $600 or $1,200 every year, I believe. No, it was $600. So these are subscription services that you may have, or that you probably will have if you plan to fly your airplane. And so when I calculate just my subscription alone, I'm spending about $700 every single year on just subscription services. And these are costs that I didn't generally think about initially, but they will come with the aircraft ownership. The subscription, I wouldn't really count it as an unexpected cost, but again, I didn't plan for it, and perhaps some of you out there who are in the market right now may not plan for it. But these things, you get them for safety reasons, also just to make your life a lot easier. But anyway, I'm gonna continue this series to answer more questions. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Guys, a great way to support the channel, become a Patreon member. Also, subscribe with the notification bell on. And if you're in the market right now to buy an airplane, check out aeroavion.com. Best place to find the airplane that you want, and it's so much easier to use. It's user friendly and it's modern, and you can check out on the website aeroavion.com, or just download the app on your phone, both on Android and on iOS. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.